Hello everyone to part 2 of our React tutorial. So in the previous tutorial, in part 1, we implemented this part here where we have one big component. We put all our JSX code inside this file here, app.js, and we got our web page to be working as shown here. In this second part, I will show two other ways to achieve the same function. In the first way, we will still have the same output, but however, I will be splitting our interface into two components. So the first component here include this list that I will put in physicist list, and the second component would be this part here, the input, and that I will be putting inside the physicist edit. Then our app.js will include these two files. We will see that this will include some complications, and to be honest, I don't prefer this way of implementation. I find the previous one is better, although that you will have a bigger file. And then we will go to the third method, which is somehow different than the previous two, because in this implementation, we will split our code into two pages, where the first page will include this list and an add button, and the second page will include these inputs here and three buttons. So basically, when we click add, we will be forwarded to this new page where all these inputs are empty and we can add a new physicist. While when we click this edit here, we will be forwarded to this page, but those fields will be filled with the corresponding information of the corresponding physicist, and then we can either change those information and click save, or we can cancel, so we return to the previous page, or we can click delete to delete the physicist. So let's start implementing these two variants. So this is our application from part 1. So what I will do now, I will copy the whole folder here and I will paste it 2 times here. This first one I will call implementation 2, and then here I will call it implementation 3. So let me stop these two services here and let's navigate to second implementation and run it. Actually here for the backend there will be no changes, so you can also run from inside implementation 1, but I will move anyway to the second implementation and let me run. So and let's expand here the implementation 2, and let me start by adding a folder here inside the source, and let's call it components, and inside it I will create two JS files. One is the list and one is the edit. So let's start by the list, and first we will need to import the physicist as before. So here we need to go one level up, then inside JS common and then physicist, since this file is here. Then we want to define our component, and for that we will define a function, and this function I will call it simply physicist list, and let this function now take no argument. And since this would be a component, we need to put here a capital letter. So this is similar to our app here. Remember, in our app we have one capital letter here at the beginning. Same here, so that JSX will recognize this as a component name. And now let me use a simple JSX expression here. So simply just return a div, the word list, and save. And here inside the app, let me copy all this code here, put it inside the edit. I will use it later. And the table here, I will take it to the list. I will also put it here and comment it so I can use it later. Let me save both and even save here. And let's check the website. So you can see now we have an empty page because our app.js have nothing inside except for this horizontal splitter here. So let's put the web page and vscode side by side as usual. And let's now add the list component. And for that, we can use a tag similar to HTML. So we start by this smaller than, and then we write physicist list, as you can see here. So if I click now here, VS Code will add an import, as you will see here in the top. So now we are importing physicist list, and now I can use it here. I simply just need to close this tag like this. So this will render our physicist list here, and if we went to this list, you can see that for now we are only outputting list. So let's save, and you can see we got the word list here. That's how we can have a parent component. For us here is app, including a child component, which is list for now. In a component, so the physicist list for now, we can define properties. So let's call them props, and these props can be used here. So for example, let's say props.name, and this props we can pass from the parent component. For us, this is the app component. So here we can say, for example, name equal some name, and let's save, and you can see that we have now list some name. What's happened now is that React.js, this property name, put it inside this prop object here, so we can access it using this .name. Another way to use that is dereferencing. So we can basically, since this prop is an object, we can use this curly bracket and we simply use just the word name here. And that's what I usually prefer to use. And then here we also can directly use name, and let's save. And you can see even if I refresh, so we have the same effects here. So we can add even more properties, for example, other prop. And let me render this property also here. We can do that either here using plus inside this expression, or we can do it here outside using another expression. Let me save, and now you can see this property has nothing assigned, so nothing will appear here. Let's change that. So we can add other property and we can give it some value here, and let's save, and you can see how it's rendered here. For now, what I wanted to do is actually to pass our state, which is the list of physicists, all here, to the list component, and let me call it simply physicists. So let's assign a value for that. We can use the expression, of course, since this is an array. And let me delete this property, and inside the list we use the name of the property. Now we can simply try to render our table again. So let me take this code and put it inside the return here and see if it's need any changes. So this first part here regarding the header should work directly. Here, instead of all, we need to use this new property here called physicists. And again, we can use the map as before. So this part stay unchanged. However, now here with the buttons, we need to deal with these two functions. For now, let's comment them. Let's save. Now you can see the list is rendered as before, except for these buttons because we commented it here. So let's now handle these two buttons. So let me remove the comments here. Notice that this first function here is setting the current physicist, while here this one is deleting the physicist. So we can simply put these two functions as inputs, so as properties here. So let me put them as set physicist current here and delete physicist. So now we need to pass those functions inside the app, same as before. So we need to put set physicist current. We need to give it a value, and then also the delete physicist. And of course, for the set physicist current, we want to assign the set physicist, and for the delete, we need to assign the delete. And let me save here and save the list. And let's try, for example, to do the delete. You can see we got the function correct. You want to delete, you can click OK, and it's deleted, and the refresh is happened as before. Now, if we click the edit, we will not be seeing anything. What I wanted to do now is to check if we have errors at least here. So we don't have errors, which is good. Let's remove the developer tools and let's do the edit component, and let's start by defining a component for the edit. And as you can see here, this component dereferences the properties for now, and let me make it return this code here, and we need to put it inside a dummy tag as before. So let me save. Nothing will happen because we did not include this yet in the app. And before we do that, let's see how we want to handle the states here. So one way to do it, we can pass the physicist as a property here. So this will be the current selected physicist, or maybe just call it current here. Then from this physicist current, let me define 4 state hooks using the useState. So you can see the first hook is for the name, the second is for the birth year, for the birthplace, and for the comments. So let me add the useState and also the physicist. We will be using these two imports here mostly. And now inside the input, this value is now much simpler as before. So we can put this as name, simply the value, and on change, we simply now here want to set the name. So just set name, and for that we use the target value. This should handle the rendering of this input. Let's do the same for the other 3 inputs. So that should handle the changing of the state. Let us test that. So I will save and go to the application. I want to include this component here, similar to what we did for the list. So we just put physicist edit, and let's close this tab, and notice that vscode already added this physicist edit here. However, here we have errors. So we have these 2 functions, save and cancel, not defined. So let's take these 2 functions now from here. So this is the cancel and this is the save. Let's save here and let's check these two functions. So for the cancel, we want to reset those properties here. So simply we can use the set name, set pers here, set pers place, and set comment, all to empty strings. So let's do that. And that would be the cancel function. And for the save, if we made any changes, so this ph current is the input and this input is not be changed. So what we did is we defined states from this input, and now we need to use those states, because when we made changes inside this component, these changes will be reflected to those variables, to this name, year, place, and comments. And to use them here, we can simply define a physicist. So let's do that. We can also use the same name. So I will use ph current. So since this is inside this function, so this ph current here will be scoped inside this function here. And to be sure that we are logging this, let's do here console.log after this definition, and that should be enough for the save. So let me save this file. Yeah, so we have now the set refresh function. As you can see here, this set refresh function, we need to pass it also to the input. Now let me save, so this should work. Now let's set these two properties. Set refresh property will set it to this set hook here, and for the ph current we will also set it to this ph current here. I mean, this could be confusing. If you like, you can use different names for the properties. Let me save. Now you can see we got our inputs back here, and let me try now to do the edit. So when we click edit, so nothing is happening. This should be reflected here. So let's see what's happening. When we click the edit, so this set current physicist using this one is being called, and this function we already passed from inside the application here. So this is this function here, set physicist current. What I want to do now to do some debug, I want to make sure that this function is being called. So I will replace this set ph current with an arrow function. So let's do it like this. And this arrow function need to take one parameter, which is the physicist we want to edit. So let me put it just ph, maybe edit. And when this happens, first thing I want to do is to log the edit physicist. So console.log ph edit. So to make sure that this function is called on the correct physicist. And then we will call this set on it. And let me save. And now if I clicked edit, you see this function, something is happening here. So the physicist is selected, so this function is got called, and this set current physicist is done. However, still this state has not been updated, and yeah, I guess I know the reason why. That's because we are not using this state here ph current directly. If we use this state directly, so let me try it here on the input. I will use ph current name and let me save, and now you can see it's directly appeared here, James Maxwell. And now if I click some other physicist, the name will appear here. However, the problem now, if I try to change, so now I'm pressing some keys on the keyboard, but you can see the name stays Isaac Newton. That's because this ph current is not allowed to change inside, so I cannot use this directly. So let me go back to ph name and see, now I can have more letters here. I can change the name, but now if I refresh this, we are back again that this will not be rendered. I can write something here, but this will not be rendered when I click edit. So to let React know that it should refresh this component when current physicist is changed, we need to use the key property. So let's do that. We need the key, and the key can be anything from the ph current. I will use the name, since we assume the name to be unique. Let me save, and now you can see we already got the information of Maxwell, because it is the last one we have selected. Let's now switch to Newton or Maxwell. So this rendering now is working. So basically putting this key here is essential if we are not using the state directly as we did here, but rather we are building new states based on the state passed from the parent component. So now let's try to do some changes. So let's do this to changed and save. So you can see we have a new physicist since now we changed the name. Let's try to change now for Newton, for example. Let's put calculus and save. You can see it's updated here. Let's try the cancel. Cancel is also working. Let's try the delete. So the delete is also working, and let's do some refresh. So you can see we have correct list. So, and that's it basically for this second way. Now in our app, we are using these two components, and we are linking these two components using these states here. And what I noticed now is that I still have this delete function here. We can move it to inside the list. So we can put it here. So this delete function is can be called from here. So delete physicist, this one we'll call this function. What we need to do is this refresh, and now instead of the delete we can pass the set refresh. Let's try that. I'm doing this just to be consistent with the edit. So in the edit we put all the functions required here inside. I will put the same here, and then the only function will still be inside the app is the get all function. That's it. So let me change now this to set refresh, and let's remove this extra log here. We can actually remove this whole expression because we want to call this function here directly. And let's save, and let's again try here to do the delete, and maybe first let's try to change here. So if we remove this change and save, we should get now here a new physicist added. And now let's try to delete this one. It's still working, as you can see, and cancel is working. If we refreshed here, it's working. And that's it for the second implementation. Let's start now with the third one. And first let's close these two here and move to the corresponding implementation. And let's start the backend here. And in the React terminal here, let's go to the third implementation and let's start the React app. And now we got the default list since we restarted the backend. Let me close this. So remember that this implementation 3 is copied from this implementation 1. So we don't have any components here. Let's add a component folder. And inside it, we want to add two files. So a home, which will contain the list, and an edit, which will be similar to before. And let's start by copying the code from the app.js as before and putting it in the corresponding file. So I will put now the get all inside the home, and let us define a component here which will surround everything. So this component will be called home. Again, here capital letter as before, and I want these two states also inside the home, since I will be doing the list and refreshing here. So these functions save and cancel and delete, I will be putting inside the physicist edit, and let me surround them with a component definition. So again, capital letter here, and let me save. And now I want to put inside the home since it has to do with the list. And then this return we need to split into two parts, same as before. So let's take this part and put it inside the edit and save. And then let's take the second part here and put it inside the home, and let's save. And in both here, let's import the physicist and the state, same here. So let's save these two files here, and let me go back to the app. And inside the app, now we need to use a new package. So remember, we said we want to have two pages and we want to use links to route between these two pages. And for that, we will be using the React routes. And for that, we need to install some packages. So let me first here close this React app and then use npm install. So and then we need to write React router DOM and then enter. A few seconds, it should be installed. Let me rerun the application. And the first thing we want to do here to use this package is to import the browser, router, the routes, and the root. So let's do this. So notice these three components here which we will be using. So let's first define browser root, and we will put inside it routes. And let me close these two. So this is how we use this package. So we define these two components where this browser router is the parent and this would be a child, and then inside these routes we can add all the routes which we need. So for now I will add one route, and we do that using the root tag, and we will put a path. So which path we want to have for this route, and I will just use a /, and then we put the elements. So which component basically we want to render when this path here is requested. Let's put element, and of course if we just put /, I want to render the home tag. So let's put the element to be the home, and we need to import the home, and that can be done simply if I clicked here. So as you can see, done automatically for me from vscode. Let's self-close this tag and let me save. So now what would happen here, since we are calling this root here for the home, and then React's trying to render it and we got some errors. So let's go to the home component and try to resolve this. So the first problem is set. So we are using set phcurrent, and we don't have this state here. So let's see where is this used. So that's on the click, and the same here for the delete. So let's for now remove this whole on click just to get the home page to render, and let me save. And now you can see the home page renders, so no problem. This get all is called. I mean, this refresh was true, and then this get all is called, and we got the page refreshed. Great. Let's now add a second root. The second root, as you can see here, I want it to be /physicist. And if this root is called, then I want to render the physicist edit. Let me click Control Space here and let vscode add the import for this component, and let's save. And we got here some errors from inside physicist edit, as you can see here. So for that, let me take this state here. I think we need to put it inside the physicist edit here. Let's save. We still have this refresh, and that's called, I think, on the delete here. So let me comment it. And so in the save here and on the delete. Let me now save. So it works. There's no error, but now it's still rendering the home. Let me copy this path here and append it the URL. And notice now it's rendered. Let's see now what errors we have. So when I click save, cancel, so you can see that we have some errors. So now let's go back to the home page and let's see how we can get this edit to work. When we click edit, we want the edit page to open with the information of Albert Einstein, or of course the corresponding physicist. So if I clicked here, the information, this edit, this information here should appear. And for that, we can use the link package. So let's go inside the home here, and let me now remove these two buttons. So the delete, actually, we want to put it inside physicist edit. Let me add it here. And the edit, we want it to be now a link. So let me first import the link package, as you can see here, from React Router DOM. And then instead of button here, I can simply put link, and let's save. Okay, so you can see now we have the edit here, we have a link, but if we click it, nothing will happen. For that, we need to define where we want to go when we click this link. So using the property to, and let me assign to this property to a string, which is for now just physicist here. So it's a relative path. Let me save. And now if I click this edit, you can see we are redirected to this page, but there is no way for us now to know which link is clicked. Is it the link at the Einstein row, or is it in Maxwell row? That we don't know. I will pass this information using two-way. So first using parameter here in the URL. So for example, /1, 2, or 3. So an ID of the physicist, or if you like a name of a physicist, can also do that. And to achieve this, so to pass the parameter here with the link, we need to change the root here. So we need to tell React that here after this physicist, we can add a parameter. And for that, we also use this / and then a colon, and then the name of the parameter. Let's say we want to pass an ID here, and let me save. Now you can see here we are not getting anything because we need to have an ID here. So if I put 1, for example, and click enter, so we got routed to the correct component, which is physicist edit. So in the physicist edit, we can get this ID using the useParameter hook. So let me first import that. So as you can see here, useParameter from React Router DOM. So we can now call the function useParams, and this function useParams will return for us our URL parameters. So let me define those as constant, and I will dereference them. So this will be an object, and for now it will only contain the ID. So let me save, and this ID should be getting the value which we have here. So for now it's p1. We can, if you put here now 2, this ID should be 2, and let's make sure that this is getting the correct value by simply rendering it. So let's add a div here, the render, and this div contain only the string passed ID or index is, and then the value of this ID, and let me save. And you can see now that passed ID or index is 2. If I put here 3, it will show me 3, and so on. So we can put even minus values and you will get it here. So this is one way. So whenever we get this ID, we can get now the corresponding physicist from the server if you want. But now we are adding this ID by hand. We need this ID to be passed automatically when we click the edit. So remember, if we are in the home page here, for example, and we click this edit, now we still have only /physicist, but there is no ID is shown. And that can be done simply by changing this URL here in the link, this to property in the link. Let me add / and then plus, and let me use this index here now. I will not be passing an ID, but an index. Let me save. And now when I click it, you can see it is 0 since this is the index 0. And here we have 1 and here 2. So great. So this is one way how we can pass parameter from one page to the other. what I actually like to use in such a case is the state parameter, and let's see how to do that. And the state is a property here, so let's provide it simply by saying state equal, and then inside this curly bracket you can put the object which we want to pass, and for us is this physicist here. Let me save. And now when we click edit here, there is a state saved that we are passing this physicist. And what we need to do now is to get it inside this edit page. And that's done by using another hook, which is the location hook. So let me first import that. It's in the same package here. So let me just add use location, and we use it in the same way as we did for params. Let me not dereference it now. So I will just simply set constant location use location, so this will return an object, and let's just console log this object. Let me save, and let's press F12 and refresh. So you can see here this is the location object. If I clicked here, you can see the different properties, so the hash key, the path name, so physicist /0. Then we have this state here. The state property contain all the information of our physicist, which are name, birthplace, birth year, and comments. So we can now use location.state, or if you like, we can dereference this by just using this curly bracket here and state. Let us for now just use the location. Let me now define a default physicist. So let me call it ph default, and I will put it to an empty physicist. So similar to here. Now I will check the state. So if location.state is not null, so if we are passing something, so if we already clicked on an edit and we will get something which is not null, I will put this default to the past state. And now let me use this to define the state hook. So I will cut this and put it here, and then use ph default here, and let me save. And now you can see we already have the information of Einstein here. So let me for now implement the cancel, because I don't want to use this back button when I want to go back to the home page. I rather like to click this cancel button here, and that should bring me back to the list. And for that I will use another hook, which is the navigate. So let me add it here, the import, and again define constant navigate, which is the return of the useNavigate. And now in the cancel, I can of course set the current physicist to something empty, and then I want to navigate, and I can give a path here. I want just the slash, so to go to the home. Let me save. Now let's click cancel, and let me close the div tools, and you can see that this worked. So if I click here, Newton, we have the information of a Newton, and we can again cancel and go back and so on. And now let's see the save and delete. So when the save button is clicked, this ph save is called, and here we are sending the request to the server. And after that is happened, we need to again navigate to the home page. So let me use the navigate again here. I would say similarly for the delete. So this is the function called for the delete, and when everything is done, we navigate to the home page. So let me save, and now we can try, for example, to change the information of Einstein. Let's again put here black body radiation. Let's save, and you can see that here we have the comment is changed. And if we click, of course, edit and change the name, we will have a new physicist as before. This is added here. Let's now try to delete a physicist. So delete. It seems that we have some errors. Let me check. Nothing is outputted. So let's go to the edit and check the delete function. Yeah, we don't have any handler here on the click. So let's call delete physicist, and doesn't take any parameters. Rather, it should, as before, use the ph current. So let's check. So here we are defining ph current. Instead of that, we can just comment this. So now here we'll be using the information of the ph current, and that should work. It seems that we have an error. Let's check. So it's telling us physicist is not defined. So somewhere we're still using physicists here, and maybe also here. Let's save now, and let's delete. So do you want to delete? Yes. And as you can see, the record is deleted. So what's still missing here is an add button. Of course, we can always click edit here and then change the name, but yeah, having an extra add button would be also good. So let me do that here, and that should be done in the home page. You can have a simple link here at the top, for example, above the table, and then maybe a horizontal splitter. So you can see the link will call physicist, and then with -1, I can even put this -1 here inside the string, and the state is null. And that's it. So let's save and click this plus here, and you can see we got everything here empty, so we can add a new physicist. So let's do that. And now let's save, and you can see we have Lawrence added here at the bottom. And if we click refresh, So everything is working. So that's it for this third way of implementing this physicist website using React. So last note about this three implementations. So I kind of usually for small pages where the app is not as longer as what we've seen here in the first implementation. So we opened the app from the first implementation. You can see it's only a few hundred of lines. So I would actually use such an implementation. This is still acceptable. If not, then I would try to use something like implementation 3 because it's more clean. And my least favorite is actually this implementation 2 because in implementation 2, you have seen here, for example, in post, in edit, and list, we are passing too many properties, and these properties include even functions. And we had also this special case here in the app where we put the key for the physicist edit to make it render the state, because we have this definition here. I mean, we defined a local state based on the state passed from the parent. As you can see, this already is adding some complication to the website, although that now you have separated this app.js into two files. Still, the logic behind is a little bit complicated. So yeah, my advice would be an implementation similar to 1 or 3, but of course 2 would work for you. So that's all what I wanted to say for this tutorial. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to subscribe and like, and I hope to see you in the next tutorial. Bye.